Today we're making an American flag from people covered in milk kissing each other. Hey guys, welcome to Phlearn. My name is Aaron Nace. Find me on Twitter at AKNacer. We got the 4th of July coming up and we are ready to celebrate it American style. We might even have a sale coming up too. Wink. We're going to be creating an American flag from people covered in milk kissing each other, brought to you by Roberto, who submitted this image for last week's contest. This is going to be random and crazy, and we're going to have a lot of fun doing it. It's going to be complex, but I'm going to get into it, go hardcore, and if you get lost, the beauty of video, just watch this episode over and over and over again until you get everything you need to get. Let's go ahead and get into it, because it's going to be amazing. Okay, now, it's the 4th of July. I typed in this image for American flag, and I found this one on the internet, and I'm like, whoa, that's actually really cool. This is the image by Roberto from last week, and we're gonna make something kind of like this out of this image. So we're gonna go ahead and start off. Now, the first thing I'm gonna do is use this as a reference. I'm not gonna copy any part of this image. We're using it as a reference only. So I'm gonna hold down Shift, click, and drag from one image over the other one, and then we're gonna hit F to full screen. Let's go ahead and hit Command T, and we're going to sync the width and the height right there, and I'll just make that a little bit smaller. There we go. So I can just use this as a reference. Now, what I'm gonna do is grab my crop tool, C for the crop tool, and we're just going to scale out something right about there. Get it about flag length there, I guess, something like that. I don't know, I don't make flags very often, but that looks pretty good to me. This does not have to be perfect, obviously, because we're creating something that's absolutely ridiculous. It's going to be great. I really can't wait. So the first thing I want to do here is we need to go ahead and figure out how to separate out these lights from the darks. You could use tools like Screen to separate out the lights from the darks, either make the blacks or the lights show up. But if I want to do something like color color parts of this, what I'm going to have to do first is to separate these out actually through a selection. So the first thing I'm going to do is channels are a great way to make selection. So we're going to use channels. I'm going to go up here to my channels. We're going to click on our red channel. They should all be about the same because we're in black and white here. I'm going to duplicate this. There we go. And now I'm going to hit Command L to bring up our levels. We're going to bring up our white levels just a little bit, making these areas just a little bit more blown out. There we go. And then I'm going to bring up my black levels as well. Okay. We're going to hit OK. And now when I make a selection from this area by holding Control or Command and I click on that area, it's going to select just the lights out. It's not going to select out the darks, just the lights. And with selections, you can do whatever you want. You can fill with new colors. You can do all kinds of fun stuff. So on a new layer, Shift Option Command N, I'm going to fill this. We'll hit Shift Delete, and we'll just say fill this with white. Okay, there we go. We'll deselect, and we're good to go. So here on a new layer, we can see, let me just make the original one invisible. We've got white, and there we go. Everywhere that was black is now completely transparent. Pretty cool. Now, I do want to make sure I just get rid of all this other white around here. I just want where my people are actually visible. So I'm just going to grab my marquee selection tool. There we go. And make a selection right about there. Down to there. And then I'm going to hit Shift Command I and hit Delete. There we go. So now we have just this white on its own layer. So what are we going to do with this? Well, we've got some American flagging to do. I'm going to just create a new layer under there. We're going to sample some colors here. So I'm going to sample some red. This is the red from the American flag. Symbolizes the blood that was spilt in battle. The white symbolizes because eggs are white and we like to eat eggs here in the United States. And then the blue symbolizes the blue sky. I really don't know what these mean. By the way, I'm not a very good citizen, I guess. Please don't tell the government. But we got white, red, and blue. So those are the colors we're going to be painting with today. All right, so we're going to make this invisible really quick. Let's just go ahead and start off with a completely red background. So I'm going to create a new layer under all that. I'm going to grab my brush tool, we'll sample this color, and then hold down Alt or Option, Delete. There we go. So we're filling with that color with the background now. And now we've got white, black, and red. Sorry, white, red, white, and blue. Oh, God. I'm just really going to get in trouble today. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to create some white stripes that are going to go through them. Now, originally, I think there's like 13. We're not going to stay true to that. We're going to do something that's a little bit more stylized. So we've got our people kissing, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Command J because we've got a lot of stuff we want to do with that. Okay, now I've got people kissing, so we've got two different layers of that. I'm going to hit Command G, and we're just going to call this stripes. There we go, because we're going to be making quite a few of these. So the first thing I want to do is kind of stretch these out. We're going to hit Command T, And oh, and by the way, I've never done this. So this is the first time you're seeing it in action. Command T, rotate that around, and then Command T again. We're just gonna like stretch that out there and kind of squish it on down. There we go. That looks pretty amazing. Let's hit Command T again and squish it up a little bit more. All right, now what we're gonna do is I'm gonna hit Command J again, and this is just making copies every time I'm doing this. You can rotate it around, just hit Command T again. There we go. So now we've got these two, there we go, and I'm gonna hit Command, shift click the two of those, hit Command E, and that's gonna merge those together. Command J on that, and then we can get even more. Then we're gonna shift click on those and hit Command E. So we're just getting like this cool like pattern there. There we go. Let's just do one more. All right, there we go. And maybe I'll just make that a little bit smaller. All right, and hit Command D on there. So that's kind of one of our stripes that's gonna go across. Now, I'm gonna make a custom brush really quick because what we have to do, we're gonna have to introduce some more splatters, and I don't want all these splatters to be visible there. So custom brush, new layer, hit B for the brush tool, go to Wyndham, go down to brush, window, down to brush. We're gonna turn on our scattering right over here, and we're gonna just turn up our scattering just like that. Very nice. I'm gonna turn transfer off, and it's just gonna make like a bunch of little white or red splatters. So let's just grab our brush and see what that looks like. All right, we're gonna need to turn our scattering up a little bit, aren't we? And we're gonna need to turn our size jitter all the way up. There we go, so we get something that looks like that. Let's just turn our spacing up a little bit too. All right, there we go. And something that looks like that, let's turn our spacing up even more and our scattering up a little bit more. Cool. That looks great. Now we have a brush that's gonna look like a pattern, so we can even do this. We can check this out. I'm gonna make these all not the same, so they're not all completely round. Yeah, that's gonna look good. And then I'm gonna turn up angle jitter as well. So there's just all gonna be pretty crazy. We'll just turn it up something like that. Cool, that looks great. So those are gonna be our splatters, guys. Well, what I'm gonna do now is go over here and go to new brush preset and call this splatter. There we go. And I can use this brush now. See that? Isn't that cool? I can use this as like a layer mask or whatever I want. So let's just delete that. We've got our layers right here. There we go, our stripe layer. And I'm gonna put a layer mask on that, and then I'm gonna just paint black with this splatter brush. And that's just gonna allow me to like paint, I'm just painting black with that brush we just made on a layer mask. And this is just gonna make it a little bit more unique. You know what I mean? It's not gonna look like I just copied the same thing over and over again. Let's just move it over there. Grab my brush and continue to do this. Cool. This was people kissing a second ago, by the way. I just want to point that out because I think what we're doing here is pretty cool. All right, so just using a brush, it's basically just like making this look like it's a little bit more of a random pattern. So like they fade out normally. You don't want to use a soft edge brush on this because you have splatter patterns. You want to make sure you maintain this pattern. Okay. Very cool. And I'm going to right click here and just say apply layer mask. So there we go. We've got a nice splatter. I'm going to hit Command J because we're going to wind up warping this. So I'm going to hit Command T. There we go. And we're just going to warp this on in here. Something like that. We're going to hit this button up here that's going to allow us to do an arc. And we're going to change the arc down to something like that. Cool. So there's our arc. Now we'll hit Command T again and go ahead and arc that out. Something like that. Cool, looking pretty good, right? Kind of like that. Very cool. Out of people kissing, right? Now all I have to do is I'm gonna hit Command J again. We got another one of these. You can like stretch it out a little bit more. There we go. We could do a lot of things. I can flip that horizontally and then rotate it around so they don't look like the exact same thing, right? Pretty cool. All right, let's do that again. I'm gonna hit Command J. We're gonna hit Command T and flip that again horizontally and then give it a rotation. All right, cool. So let's just bring our stripe layers up there. There we go. This is already looking so cool. All right, let's hit Command T. I'm gonna flip this horizontally and then we're gonna bring this all the way over here so it's gonna like kind of fade off, like a nice, interesting natural fade there, right? Cool, looking good. And keep in mind, I'm trying to do this relatively quickly. So if you wanted to spend more time, you can do that. You can do whatever you want. It's your life, it's your world. Just don't tell me you don't love America. Okay, cool. We've got our splatter. Now, how do we take care of a blue splatter? Well, we've got people kissing again, right? So let's go back to our people kissing. I'm going to hit Command G. Let's just duplicate this because I want it more again. And we're going to call this blue. So where do we get our color from the blue? Well, I'm going to lock the transparency of this layer, allowing us only to be able to paint on the non-transparent pixels. Okay, let's just bring our colors up here that we made earlier, swatches, hold Alt or Option, sample that, and then on this layer where I locked transparency, Alt or Option, delete, and there we go, fill with blue. Unlock that transparency and we're good to go, right? Let's put a layer mask on there again, and then with this same brush that we created earlier, I'm just going to paint away some of these little splatters here that give it away, like these edge splatters here, that give it away that this is actually like a shape that ends, that has boundaries. So if we can't see the boundaries, it's just going to make it a lot more believable, because in a second you'll see I'm going to like rotate around and do some really cool things with it. All right, let's right click and say apply layer mask. So we've got this, and that's going to be basically what's going to create the background here. Now the cool thing is I'm going to hit Command J, and we're just going to make like a bunch of this. This is just going to be like a splatter of this. If you wanted to like make a custom brush out of this, you could totally do that as well, by the way. I'm just going to do it like this. It's going to have a little bit more control. There we go. Cool. So I'm just creating all these things, you know, completely from scratch here, and they all have that same like splatter. You know, it's all the same like quote unquote language. It's the same language, basically saying that, you know, it's all going to be in this like splatter pattern. There we go. Very cool. So you can see why I didn't want a defined edge, because now what we can do is we can have this be like, you know, it's going to look as though it's just like, you know, it's all just like there, and there's, you know, it doesn't look like a shape that's repeating over and over again. All right, and let's just bring this up there. And then if I want to just grab a new layer and grab my blue color, I can still use this splatter thing, and I can just paint up like, you know, we should have more blue up there. But there where it degrades, like you can see the edge work, it's just going to look a little bit more natural. All right, blue, and let's just bring you down a little bit, crop tool, and crop that down just a little bit more. All right, so we don't have to mess with some of that stuff there. Cool. All right, and now we still have our people, and our people right here, they're going to make up the white part of the American flag. This is so cool. All right, group that, and we'll just call this people. I love doing stuff like this. I'm having a lot of fun. I hope you guys are having fun watching it. Same brush to kind of like let that splatter go away just a little bit. Very cool. Now I'm going to create a new layer, and we're just going to call this, group that with itself, and we're going to double click and call this FX. There we go. I'm going to grab my brush tool, and right in here we're just going to paint with white. So we said just like a little bit of like, you know, splatter and stuff like that that's just going to kind of come out. All right, and if it's too much, just grab your eraser tool and erase away. All right, let's go into our brush again, and I just want to turn our scattering like way up there, and our spacing up as well. Cool, and this is just going to allow me to be able to, you know, paint like cool splatters. So I want the white to kind of like come back over top, you know, and then I'm going to hold Alt or Option and grab the red, so we can have some red come back over top of the blue too. So keep in mind, like that's why we created this custom brush. So we have this interaction now, like between the red and the blue and the white and everything like that, that they're all, you know, it's looking like it's all just like one canvas that's kind of like sprayed together with all kinds of really cool stuff here. So it's a little bit less like, it's a little bit less just like soft edge brush, whatever, you know. It's just gonna make it look a little bit more dynamic. Let's bring that up that way too. All right, and maybe the flag should come up there. Pretty cool. You guys didn't think we could do it, America, out of a couple kissing people. And you can see the couple kissing, which I think is super important. All right, and then let's see, what I wanna do, let's just do the people kissing again. I'm gonna hit Command J, and I'm gonna bring that up into our FX, and then I just want like a big old like splash of white here. There we go. It's just like rotating, duplicating that pattern over again. So it's not like perfect, you know, This doesn't have to be, it's actually not supposed to be perfect. Like it's gonna look better if it's not perfect. All right. Cool, so we've got that in there. That's looking pretty good. Let's just do another one of those. All right, so right about there, that looks pretty good. And hit Command J, and we'll just do another one right over there. Command T to kind of flip that vertically. There we go. All right, and then we can just decide, you know, like, that one I think could go a little bit like lower. Yeah, there we go. This is so cool. All right. Keep in mind also you don't want to lower opacity of these things because then you get something like that. Or if you do, you know, use that as like a creative effect if you want to do this. But we're going to keep it much more like a graphic pattern in this case. Let's just crop it in from the right just a little bit more. I like how that kind of just ends there. Yeah, that's really cool. Man, this is a cool image. I'm really digging it. All right, some FX. So this was like our inspiration for the shot. So we didn't actually copy any of that, just our inspiration. Let's play around with the stars just a little bit if we want to. New layer. I don't know if we're gonna wind up using these. All right, I am gonna kind of trace one of these stars because I really like how these stars look, but still I'm not using the actual image. I'm just kind of like, you know, kind of tracing these here. All right, so we'll just click here, and I'm using my my polygonal lasso tool to do this, by the way. You could also use the pen tool. There we go. And I'm going to fill this on a new layer with blue. Alt or Option and fill with blue. All right, and deselect, and there we have a big blue star. All right, so I can play this, you know, play the big blue star game. Ideally, you would want to not size it up that much. All right, now the other cool thing is like we can play with these stars. I can make them either like blue or white or whatever I want to do. Let's do that. I'm going to lock the transparency of that so I can fill that with white, and then just like move that one down there. There we go. I'm just going to kind of like move them to a couple cool places here, like places I think might actually fit into the, you know, into the overall. Hit Command J each time I want to do this, by the way. There we go. All right. All right, I don't like that one. And then we'll put some blue ones in there as well. So Command J on there. Yeah, the back of his head looks pretty cool. So am I trying to like make a perfect representation of the star of the American flag? No, obviously not, right? But I'm doing it in like a cool way that's going to help add to the style of everything. All right, I'm just trying to find like a nice even place for all these things. Cool, and coming out like that, just a little bit like that. I think is really cool. All right, let's create a new layer. I'm going to group this, and we're just going to call this curves. Because I'm going to make this just from being a little bit less flat. We're going to grab, you know, I don't like that white star down there. So I'm just going to go back through my layers and make that invisible. That's why it's nice to group everything and do everything by layers. Okay, I'm going to grab a curve adjustment layer. We're just going to brighten this area up just a little bit. Use my marquee tool, hit Command I on the layer mask, deselect, hit Command I again, and then we're going to go to Filter, Blur, and then Gaussian Blur. Give that a nice big blur. That's just going to help up there on the top left be a little bit brighter. Okay, and now we're going to go to a curve adjustment layer. I'm going to drag that quite a bit farther down, and then we're going to put a big layer on there. And then we're going to filter, blur, and down to Gaussian blur as well. All right, so we've just got like a little bit more of a, kind of a vignette going on here. It just like adds a little bit more interest, I think. All right, this is so cool. And the last thing, I just had like a crazy idea. So here we have our entire stripes group. If I want to duplicate the entire stripes group, I can do that and hit Command E, which is going to make these all like their own layer. And I'm going to change this from normal to overlay. I don't know if I'm going to wind up liking this, but it's just going to add like a little bit more depth to it. We can change the opacity down to like 30%. There we go. Just going to add a little bit more depth to it. And I think we're done, guys. We just created an American flag inspired image from two people kissing covered in milk, which is absolutely ridiculous if you ask me. But it turned out really, really cool. So here's our original image, and there is our American flag done with this image. I hope this didn't offend anyone. I hope everyone out there loves America and loves this image and loves this tutorial. Thanks so much for watching, guys. This is an amazing 4th of July, and I will flern you later. Bye, everyone. America, flern, yeah. We're gonna save the mother flirting day, yeah.